Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is in the author of travel adventure and puzzle game books, sharing stories from third culture roots to quitting to 9 to 5 job. No other than Miss Katrina Huang.
Hi.
Hello, hello, Miss Katrina, and thank you once again. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, sure. Kind of like what you said, I worked in corporate for almost 15 years. And then after the pandemic, I kind of had a change of mind and I decided to quit the corporate life and start my e-commerce and authoring business. And this is my first full-length book. It's my second book overall. And it is selling on Amazon right now. And I'm loving the autonomy. Yeah, so I really like the just the lifestyle that you can decide what you want to work on. You can decide your schedule. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Definitely. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, Miss Katrina, and hoping for more and more empowering books to come. And today, let's talk about the writing process of your book. So tell us, what are your writing process?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Cause I guess you can tell my book is not like other, like dense text novels. I would say my process is more close to the nonfiction writers if they're writing on a subject matter. Um, so I go in with, like 2, 3 months of research first, figuring out the countries, like highlight what is worth talking about. And because I write a crossover genre, I also research like what kind of puzzle types are more interesting or like what is trending on Amazon. And then I combine these two to see if there's like a good fit. Uh, some of the chapters come together really easily. They fit with a certain puzzle type in my mind. Some others are harder, and it will just take some time for me to figure out how do I want to convey my message while keeping it lightweight and fun. So yeah, that's kind of how it came together. I write chapter by chapter, but not necessarily in order.
Miss Katrina,
Yes.
what was the initial spark that made you think to blend a tactile puzzle game experience with a narrative travel adventure for adults?
Yeah, I get a few people asking me this. To be honest, it was a spontaneous idea. I'm not gonna say it didn't take long because it actually for me to come up with the whole business idea and how I want to structure my Shopify, I took roughly 3 years just thinking how how to do it. Um, but to be honest, this idea landed pretty organically. I just came up with it one day. There are a few elements I really like. One is that I knew I wanted to do something related to like social marketing. And so I needed something fun that both I can enjoy and my readers can enjoy. And that is puzzle for me because puzzle, I was a lifelong puzzle lover and I do all kinds of puzzles, brain puzzles, Wordle. I also do jigsaw puzzles. Um, it's just something I enjoy. And so when I left corporate, I thought, I want my life to be more fun. I don't want it to be too serious. And so puzzle was a really good segue into that. I also like travel, but I think my type of travel is more like cultural travel. I also talk about the tourist attractions where people usually want to go, but at the same time, I'll put in, say, like pop music, what is interesting in Iceland right now, Iceland's YouTubers, or popular novels. So that's kind of how I think about my product. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting indeed, Miss Katharina. The title promises an adventure for the armchair. How did you balance the desire to inspire reader travel to Iceland with creating a fulfilling self-contained experience for someone who never leaves their home?
Yeah. So I have been this book has been out for roughly 1 month now, and I am kind of like adjusting how I describe this book based on my early readers' feedback.
Hmm.
I think in the very beginning, I was just like so fixated on creating the exact same experience for people at home versus, if you're actually physically traveling to Iceland. And now I'm changing a little bit of my thought because it is different. I think what happens is that with my book, you can understand a little bit more about how Icelanders think, um, how their history is like, how their culture is like. Um, I also talk a little bit about, Iceland has amazing natural landscape. And so I go into, like how the, let's say, Northern Light and the volcanoes, how they work a little bit. And it's kind of in the trivia form. And so I'm rambling a little bit, but let me come back. The conclusion is that it will just be a different experience. I mean, it makes sense to me now that you have different travel modes, then you see different things. But they are all Iceland, and I think my book will be a really good supplementary companion if you're going to Iceland to experience things physically by yourself.
For sure, Miss Katharina, a support for the people want to go to Iceland indeed. And why did you specifically want to create these for grown-ups? What does a puzzle adventure book after adults that they might be missing?
That's interesting. So, because I love puzzles, I always know that there are other people interested in puzzles who are grown-ups, adults. Uh, After I published my very first book on Barcelona, I got so much feedback about this is a great children book, or I think my kid's gonna enjoy it. So while that was really flattering, because I don't have kids by choice, I just feel like an imposter. Um, I Yeah, so writing for adults is just because I know this area, and people have suggested that I can, go into both markets. But I just feel like I don't know that much about kids, and so it's not in my current plan. Maybe in the future I can like collaborate with someone who knows a little bit better about what kids want. Yeah.
Interesting, Miss Katrina. And tell us,
Yeah.
how is experience of armchair Iceland fundamentally different from reading a traditional travel guide or linear novel about Iceland?
They actually overlap a lot. I intentionally, when I am doing, the Iceland research, I kind of structure the book to be about 75%, like three quarters, that is what a North American traveler would want to see in Iceland. So hitting all of the like big tourist spots on TripAdvisor. Um, Obviously, I do not go into how you book the hotel, how you book the flights, how much they are. That's not my focus. But I do have a chapter that mentions, like if you run into emergency, especially in Iceland, it snows and it has like not a lot of daylight for some of the seasons. And so you have to, if you're gonna rent a car, it's better to have some phone numbers in your phone already. And so I go into that a little bit just so people have a little bit of resources before they go. And then the rest of the book, about 20%, that is kind of like the cultural thing I talked about. I keep it really lightweight. It is just what is interesting recently, or like I talk about Bjork's music because she is big in Iceland. And yes, so that I would say the overlap is probably the majority of the travel um it itinerary. However, the different thing is that I get to jump around because we're sitting at home. So I can say we are going from the northmost side of Iceland to the southmost side of Iceland, just by a turn of page. People cannot do that if they're physically in Iceland. And actually, Iceland's northern side is really beautiful, and they have a really pretty city called Akureyri. I'm probably butchering that. Um, it is a less visited because it's just like harder to travel there. Like Iceland has one big international airport that's on the south side, in Reykjavik, and then people just like travel around Reykjavik. There is actually a Golden Circle route that has a lot of travelers every year. And then like the northern side of Iceland is so beautiful, but it's just like ignored a little bit because it's harder to get to. And so I try to compensate that in my book. I talk about both.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing that information, Miss Katrina. And which come first in your process, the narrative journey or the puzzle mechanics?
Which sorry, say it again in the beginning.
Yes, which come first in your process, the
Mm,
narrative journey or the puzzle mechanics?
mechanics.
Yes. So
Yeah.
how did you weave them together as much wouldn't feel forced into the other?
Um Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, some of the puzzle types are just easier to work into a narrative. Some others are harder. I would say that I don't try to force every chapter to connect. So, um, maybe it's easier to think about it as an anthology. So it's like a collection of different itinerary stops. That is how I think about it. There are some Easter eggs in there. So, for example, you have to solve a certain type of puzzle, and your score will dictate what kind of character you get later in the book. But um, other than that, I don't really try to force it. I mean, if you go to Iceland, we're seeing different things every day. We're driving to different places, experiencing different highlights, and I think this is similar. It's okay that it doesn't have to be like a one story arc.
Miss Katrina,
Yes, Daniel.
sorry for that. What's the key to designing a puzzle that is challenging enough to be satisfying for an adult, but not obscure that leads to frustration and giving up?
Mm, I try to make it. suitable for any level. So if you have never played with an adult activity book before, or you don't have a lot of experience with these brain puzzle games, you can completely enjoy my book. Um, at the same time, I have a balance of, easy things. For example, you can walk through a maze with your pencil, but there are other chapters that ask you to do really intense online sleuthing to figure out answers to trivia. And so I think if you're an adult that has some kind of curiosity about the world, you will be able to enjoy this. I do want to say you need Wi-Fi. Yeah.
We need Wi Fi everywhere, people. Our life is not complete without Wi Fi to be connected all over the world. Iceland is known for its dramatic landscapes. How did you translate sensory details like the smell of sulfur, or the feel of mist, and the sound of silence in the book based on puzzle format?
Oh, I love this question. Um, Obviously it's not going to be exactly the same, but online you can look at high definition pictures or YouTube vlogs to get a sense of how the landscape look like. And it might even be better than like when we my partner and I went there in 2019, and then yeah, there was just like lots of snow, very little sunlight, lots of people standing in front of the same waterfall that's trying to take the same picture, you know. So in that sense, sitting at home and looking at, I don't know, Google search results can give you a different experience. And then the other thing is that I have longer chapters that kind of goes into, like more stories related to Iceland's literature or, yeah, stories based on history. And those things kind of give you like a atmosphere of not just the landscape itself, but how the locals feel about the landscape. Because to be honest, we think it's beautiful because we're travelers. The Icelanders who live there, they have to like endure the winter, or like they have to raise their sheeps. It's a very different feeling. And so I think you can get a little bit of that in my book.
Yes, for sure, and truly, truly interesting, Miss Katrina. The book involves in interactive elements. Without giving too much away, can you describe how you design these physical components to feel like genuine discoveries rather than gimmicks?
Oh man, that is for someone else to say. I hope it's not gimmicks. Um, but yeah, I try not to treat you like a kid.
Yes.
So, and I don't like intentionally make it too difficult. There are some puzzle books that highlights that they're so difficult, they're challenging, and I love those, but that's for different occasions. For me, I think my like puzzles answers will be something I find truly worth it to know or to talk about. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. It's not a gimmick, people. It helps you to know more about Iceland. And on the research and authenticity, Miss Katrina, how did you conduct research to capture the authentic essence of the hidden gems of Iceland without being there specifically for the book?
So being there really helps. I kind of draw a lot of things from my memory. And I have a background in survey research. So I kind of just follow the same framework of doing research. Um, I would say for the travel part, it is mostly, like Wikipedia, big travel sites, what people are interested in. So that will be like search terms. What kind of search terms are more popular? I want to have like a good combination of what people are wanting to know with what the country has to offer. Like what's their highlight? Um, and then yeah, and then just work it into popular puzzle types, and that's kind of it.
Yes, for sure. And Miss Katrina, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh man, short term is to let more people know that I exist. I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but I'm learning how to do marketing. Like self-publishing authors, we have to do everything. But yeah, it was a good learning opportunity, and I'm actually like connected to a few different like crafts Etsy people that I find really interesting, and we'll probably do some collab. So look out for that. Um, Long-term plan, I definitely want to do more countries. I think this is a really good setup to do series. So my next book is going to be on Barcelona. And there are people suggesting Paris, London. I personally want to do Dubai. So hopefully those will all come true one day, but it's not going to be anytime soon.
Yes, and good luck to your goals, Miss Katharina. And can you please give a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you?
Oh man. Um, Hone your craft. So I my advantage is that I know that I have some creativity, sometimes it's quirky. That is my strength. If you want to write traditional, like novels, definitely reach out to writer groups. Facebook has a lot of them, and just figure out what you're good at and try to work on polishing that. And also another thing is that the book industry goes so slowly, like we grow slow. So make sure you have a little bit of savings that will definitely help you, and don't rush it. It will take a couple of years.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. A couple of years. Just wait, people. Patience is virtue, as they said. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah. Can I talk about uh Hannah Kent is a Australian author,
Yes.
but she was doing her PhD on Iceland's history. And she wrote a book that kind of fictionalizes a true historical event. It's called Burial Rites. So if you're interested, I recommend Burial Rites. Um, One reason I recommend it is because it's in English and it's very available to English speaking readers.
So, Miss Katharina, to wrap up our discussion for today, does the format of armchair have, well, legs? If you were to create another book in this series, what destination feel like that's the right mix of mystery, landscape, and culture to be next?
Oh, you want mystery? Let's see. I don't know. I recently went to Berlin, and I feel like Berlin has a mix of, I don't know if it's like mystery, but they definitely have history. That's both highs and lows. And now they have the modernization part of the city. So I feel like that city might be very interesting to talk about.
Yes, indeed, Miss Katharina Huang. Thank you so much for sharing Armchairs Aslan to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Thank you, Daniel.
Yes, so where do people can buy your book?
Please go to Amazon and leave a honest book review. I think that will really help with it. Like Amazon is kind of like resume, so I would love for more people to leave a review there.
Yes, people support Miss Katharina Wang because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Katharina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for interviewing me.
More to come, people. See you soon.